Welcome to the Business Spotlight Podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, I have Valerie Diaz and Jelly Guzman, co-founders of Raíces Media, and Julio Gonzalez, Chief Executive Officer of Opticution. Today, as my guests, we're going to be learning about their businesses, their journey to business ownership, best practices, and challenges that they face to give you that inside look to what it's like to build and operate a business. Today we got a panel, y'all. This is something different, something fun. I'm so excited to learn about all your businesses. So let's kick it off with a quick introduction and backstory of each of your businesses.
Okay, so I'll kick off. So basically, I am the co-founder of Raíces Media, as you stated. Aside from dropping a lot of business gems, we're also going to drop some other internal secrets within our business. But Valerie and I, we are sister-in-laws, actually. So aside from being a woman-owned business, aside from being a Latina-owned business, we are also a family-run business. So we definitely are two people that love to be around each other because I think when people say really the myth, right, of like doing business with family and like how does that go and is that okay? And we had, not to say that it was the easiest journey at the beginning because we did definitely have our differences, and we still do because as humans, we're all different. But the fact of the matter is that we run a business knowing that at the root of everything is the love that we have for one another and the relationships that we get to build with the partners, the businesses, and the organizations that we get to service. So, really, the department that I lead within Raíces is more the business development. So, outside of co founder, I am the Chief Business Development Officer. Really, we're always looking for prospective new clients, right? People who align with our values. We always say, right, when we started the company 6 years ago, it was like we were doing business with everything and with everyone. So we were pretty much like, yes, what's coming up? What's happening? What do you need? We know it all. And now we've gotten to a point 6 years later where, thank God, it's a blessing. But every single one of Raíces clients and even people that have come and that have gone, we have built such beautiful, healthy relationships with people that we go out with, right? Like they know our families, we know their kids. So we're definitely very intertwined with our clients. Outside of what I lead, our services, when I think about what we do at Raíces, we are a creative collective agency. So we do focus on social media management and obviously marketing efforts. I would say about a 75% to 80% of our business and our bread and butter is social media management. So we do work with all the different platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. Not to say that they work for everyone, right? There is a strategy that we make sure that we put in place with every single one of our clients. Outside of social media management, we do content creation. So that's something that we do for our management clients, but we are also able to do that a la carte. We do events. So we do organize specific events, like in terms of master classes, lunch and learn seminars, conferences, things like that, more in the self-development position and the place. We do influencer marketing, we do email marketing, we do websites. We pretty much do anything that uplifts your mission in the digital spaces, right? And make sure that you're out there and you're looking right and you're aligned in all of those places. And then I'll pass it on to Val so she can continue.
Yeah, I would say to take us back to like the business itself as a marketing agency, the name means roots in Spanish. Raíces means roots. And the reason why we chose that name is because we help our clients from the root to flourish and grow and bloom in the digital space, whether it is through social media management, influencer marketing, email marketing, web design. And with when it comes to my role, I focus primarily on the operations with like leading the team. So like working heavily with our current team members and all that good jazz. And that's a little bit about Raíces. We did start the business during the pandemic in a period where it was so needed for you to have a strong digital presence. And today, we don't do this alone. We also have a team of incredible individuals that allow us to do what we do and serve all of our clients who are all impact-led industries.
And I love that we've got a theme here of family and building. My career spanned many, many years, and I won't go into the details because the grays give it away. But I spent my career managing technology throughout South Florida. I've worked in every industry and every major organization. And as someone who grew up watching my family struggle with money while my dad's business floundered, I'm taking the successes that I had in those, major corporations and brought that down to small and mid-sized businesses where I now build systems so entrepreneurs can support their families right and leave a strong legacy. So my focus is purely in operations. So the entire customer journey, once sales passes it on, how do you get the product? How do you get it delivered in the right time frame, in the right manner, support, everything around the care of that customer so that that entrepreneur can have a repeatable business that is meaningful to to their families, and are doing the job that they set out to with for their customers.
Oh, incredible. Well, I do like the synergy between everyone too, with the family-owned businesses and helping other businesses grow, because that's what we do here at Action Coach too. So, before we dive into our like business, how are y'all like, do you have any employees? What's that structure look like for each of your companies?
Yeah, so at Raíces, we had the pleasure to work with a number of great freelancers, but as of right now, we do have two full-time incredible souls that allow us to do what we do. Shout out to Cynthia, shout out to Samuel. They're also from Dominican Republic. So part of our business strategy is to continue to pay it forward to generations to come and make sure that we're also pouring back into our country and making sure that we continue to grow within the industry and provide opportunities.
Oh,
Yeah, and
definitely.
in my case, I'm technically a solopreneur, but I've got a bench of other fractionals and consultants that I bring into projects. So I've got HR individuals, finance individuals, sales individuals. So I bring them in, and they bring me in as projects come up, so that everyone has their specific focuses and can do, the absolute best job for that customer.
Incredible. Well, thank y'all for sharing that. Now I'd love to hear from each of you. Like before getting into the business, tell me about your role, your individual role that you currently have in your company.
I can kick off. So as I was stating, I know I said business development, but I'm also, when we started the business 6 years ago, it was just Valerie and I probably for like 2 years. And how our expertise is merged outside of, obviously we were together in the pandemic, right? Because we're family. So we actually like lived together. But there was a point where we were looking and we had a lot of time to do things. I was more of the storyteller in the relationship. So I liked writing. I went to school for fashion merchandising, so I went to school for something completely different. But I've always had a passion for writing and hearing stories and things like that. So I kind of led that department in terms of writing captions and even writing the newsletters for email marketing. And then Valerie has always had a passion and an eye for design. So it was kind of like we merged both talents, right? And then we were able to create an agency where the work was able to be split between us. So now, today, circa 6 years later, I pretty much together we work on strategies for all current clients and new clients before we onboard them for management. So I pretty much lead all brand messaging, and Valerie leads the more tactical content part of the strategy, right? And then outside of that, obviously, when we leave certain projects with the teams, there's things that they report to Jelly, there's things that report to Valerie, depending on what task they're working on. And then again, to go back to the business development, we are an active part of the Boca Chamber. So I live up in Boca Raton. So that's something. And obviously, we have 6 years in business. We have delved ourselves into many communities, many networking groups, and things like that actively, the both of us. And that's something that I would say I lead in terms of like intro calls, proposals, and things like that. But that's something we both do. We do naturally, like Valerie's part of the BNI in Coral Gables, the Coral Gables chapter. So we are always finding ways to be in rooms where we can obviously make meaningful connections and then also obviously get great clients for Raíces so that we continue to grow.
How about you, Julio?
So yeah, in my case, as I mentioned, I worked in pretty much every major organization here in South Florida, and one of the things that I found is that one, I was always the firefighter, right? But at the same time, I was in every room, so I've created um, systems for major corporations that I was not prepared to do, and all of a sudden, because of my skills, they're like, we need you to do these things, and I stepped up and got it done. So today when I approach a customer, I can address both their strategic needs as well as their very tactical needs. So I get very hands-on. If I have a manufacturing client, I'll be on the manufacturing floor with the foreman, with the workers, because I want to see what they're actually doing, what needs to be optimized. If it's a service-based organization, I want you to walk me through the service. I want to sit with you in front of a customer. So I'm very hands-on at all different levels of the organization. And I do provide coaching also to the founders. I am not a coach per se, but in order to have a fractional relationship, you need to be able to coach those leaders for a successful relationship and engagement. So I get involved in a number of different areas depending on the scenario and the engagement.
Well, thank you for sharing me a bit about your roles in the businesses. Now, when you look at your week, much of your time is spent either in the business or on the business. And now, what does your week look like? Are you mostly in the business or on the business, or is it a bit of both?
Yeah, I can kick us off with that one. To be honest, I feel like when you have a business that is in constant growth and build mode, you find yourself navigating both. And I feel like as a young business owner, like to give a little context, I have never worked for nobody else but myself since I graduated college. And I'm a very young entrepreneur. I have been doing this. I'm about this life. And I feel like you read online and you look at people that are always talking about like being the CEO of your company and stepping out of the day to day, scaling to be able to do these things. And I love that for you, right? That's incredible if you can do that. But when you're growing the business, you're going to find yourself navigating both, right? There might be days where you have to become the designer because something randomly happens. So I per se would say that for Jelly and I, we both find ourselves on the business, like working on the business, but also being in the business. But one big strategy that we have been able to do, it's allocating CEO days where you strictly specialize and focus on becoming the CEO and being the CEO of the company. And that has been really great. Because we're still, growing, we find ourselves navigating both, but that strategy has allowed us to really focus and kind of turn off that switch where you feel like you have to be everything for everyone.
And I love to hear that you guys have done that, Valerie, because that's one of the things that I help my customers with, because you do absolutely need that time, for yourself, to do self-development within your business. But reminder, you also need personal time, because a lot of founders, put it all into the business, and unfortunately, I get called in when that founder is just, I can't take this anymore. I'm working 14, 16-hour weeks. My marriage is at risk. My kids don't know who I am. And that's the worst time because you could have gotten so much help along the way. So, in my case, because of my technology background and my process background, I've leveraged a lot of AI to help myself along. So a lot of what I do after I do the documentation, it's analysis. So I've built agents that I can just pump all my documentation in, have it assess what I'm looking for. I've given it, all kinds of parameters on what to do, So I've actually amplified my time by leveraging AI. It's hard to clone myself. I would have to hire another, consultant, and that's not where I want to take my business. So my additional helpers are the AI. So I do spend probably 50% networking and business development, 50% actually working. Um, if it wasn't for AI, there would be a lot more time, in the execution of the business. But through AI is where I found that balance to be able to continue to do business development.
Okay, Julio, I have a follow-up question for you on that.
Sure.
So as a solopreneur and you're not looking to expand into adding more like consultants or more people to what you do, are you utilizing the power of AI currently? Is that kind of the trajectory right now?
So there's a couple of things. One, I'm being selective in the customers that I take on.
Mhm.
But throughout the process, I keep running into smaller, entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs that are just getting started that frankly just can't afford my services. So what I did to lower the barrier of entry is I started a community on School. So I don't know if you've seen School with a K. It's a community of education and learning, basically. So through my School platform, I'm extending, my services, my access. I put up a three-tiered plan. So bronze, silver, gold. Bronze is free. It is basically how you start your business. So you get checklists on, incorporation and taxation and, local permits. Silver is really getting your business moving, setting up a sales funnel. And then gold is starting to scale your business. So I built that for businesses really in the 0 to 250,000 in revenue. And then from there, we can start talking about an actual engagement with me. Each of those, or the silver and the gold at least, includes time with me. So it's a lot of self development and work that you need to do. And then I come in and just provide some of that assistance. So that's how I kind of, have segmented my time, because I want to be able to help those smaller founders. Like I said, my family struggled because they didn't have the guidance. So I don't want to ignore those, but those can take up a lot of time. So, through School, I get the broader volume. Through AI, I amplify my time, and then I can get to select the customers that I work with.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that. That's really cool. And now a question for both y'all, or all of y'all, is what part of the day-to-day, like thinking about all the aspects you do, all the hats you wear, what is something that you wish you didn't have on your plate that you could offload?
So for me, since I'm not on mute, scheduling, even though, I've got a scheduling bot, when there's multiple people um, that you need to coordinate onto a single time, the bot doesn't handle that well. I've not found a solution for that. So the going back and forth on, does this time work and this other time, it seems so basic, but just getting multiple people onto one time is something that still doesn't work well. And there's solutions out there. Calendly has a solution, but none of them are really great.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would say for me, honestly, I have a list of things that I wouldn't want to do. But I would say one of them is having to verify all of my team's mates' work. I feel like because we are a boutique agency where everything is very personalized and we do leverage AI, we have a certain standard of the quality of work that needs to be delivered to the client. And I have a tendency that if it doesn't go through my eyes or Jelly's eyes, it's not going to the client. So I think that I spend quite a lot of my time verifying and making sure that everyone is up, keeping everything on their toes. And that sometimes can be very draining.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's very true. I completely understand that. Like it's like where you're in the business and yeah. you were like, this is something I wish I could offload. So thank you all for sharing your offloads. So looking at like when I talk to business owners, they share with me what they're growing through. Like we're all growing through different seasons of business at different times, different challenges. Maybe you're in a like expansion. So what are each of you growing through right now in business that's demanding most of your time?
I can answer first, and then I'm sure I'm being recorded, but as a mom, I gotta leave soon and I gotta go pick up my kids. But I would say, honestly, like, since we've been in business for 6 years, it's like we're always going up and down on the scaling of raíces, right? Like, oh, when is a good time to scale? How do you scale, right? Like the whole training and developing, hiring and firing, like I feel like we've been going through that for the past 2 years on a regular basis. But currently, right now, we at Raíces, because we are so personalized with everything that we create, it's understanding right now what is the right amount of clients that we can handle where we deliver quality and not so much looking at a quantity and going out there into all the communities and all the networking and all the things and being like, oh, I need 20 clients right now, right? It's more like I want to build a meaningful relationship with a person. And I want that person to come in because our values align, because they're doing something purposeful. And then when they come in at whatever ranking they come in, right, in terms of our packages, once we start building a relationship, we have clients that continue to grow in ranking with us in packages because they don't maybe not understand right now what it is in terms of value that we bring to the table. But after a period of time, they're like, we need to pay you guys more money. Like you guys are doing XYZ that's out of the scope. You guys can help me with ABC that I didn't even think of, right? So just understanding like not being in this crazy phase of like, oh, I need 20 more clients, like I just said. It's more like I want the right amount of clients that are going to allow me to deliver quality and that also is going to keep me sane because we work in a world with social media that literally never stops.
Hmm.
So we have to work with people, businesses, organizations that are good people, kind people, and people that are giving back. So then that at least helps, makes us feel like we're doing good too, you know?
Yeah, and I would say for another perspective is also through finding good talent. I think that after year five, when you're in business and you made a certain amount of money, you know you can make money. You know you can survive. You know you can sustain yourself. But after that, all of the conversations that you have in these business spaces is more like be your authentic self. Great. But it's like I want to be able to make double, triple what I did, right? So like how do we scale in a way that's sustainably? And then how do we also find good talent? Because I do think that there's a whole bunch of people that, to be 100% blunt, don't want to put in the work. And it's really hard to find good talent and people that meet your standards.
Very true.
And that's one of the reasons I don't want to expand to additional people. I would rather partner with great other fractionals that I know can do the work than continue to manage individuals. Throughout my corporate career, at one point I had 55 employees, and that's rough. Managing staff is rough. But as far as growth for me, I'm looking to expand my reach. I've been in business now for about 18 months, and all of my clients have been South Florida. And I'm looking to really move a little bit more into that digital nomad type of space. So clients that don't necessarily need me, to come in. Not that I'm not willing to travel for my customers, but having again that selection ability to pick customers wherever they are that better fit my profile, I think is really the big thing that I'm looking for right now.
Definitely. Now I have a follow-up question for both of you. So when it comes to those kind of roadblocks that you're going through, what is something that's kept you from solving those things?
Well, I don't know that I necessarily have a roadblock per se. What I've done is I've expanded my networking to include other areas of the organization. When you look at how I get my customers, it's really through referral, and referrals primarily from financial individuals, right? So fractional CFOs, CPAs, because they tend to get called into a customer first, right? So most fractionals are great referrals or referral partners for other fractionals. It's whoever comes in first, because operations doesn't get called in first, right? There's a problem in marketing, there's a problem in sales, there's a problem in finance, and everybody loves to dabble in operations. And then when they realize, oh, this is bigger than just, telling Bob that he needs to change something, we need a specialist to come in, then that's when I get the call. So I've extended my networking so that I have greater access to other, great referral partners. So I joined an organization called Provisors. Provisors has a national reach, so I visit affinity groups and home groups in other states, other regions, to get that broader visibility from professionals that would refer me.
Oh, thank you for Julio for that.
I would say for me, honestly, why I haven't been able to solve some of these roadblocks is because I don't have sometimes the time or I don't make the time for it. I think because I am such a micromanager and perfectionist and recovering perfectionist, I find myself constantly working and making sure that I prioritize mostly my clients. So that's why now I had to have allocated CEO days where like I do take the time to work inside within the business and the things that I have to make better.
Very true. Those are golden nuggets of the conversation because that's something as entrepreneurs, we're always going through stuff. So I appreciate you guys being honest and sharing those things. And so now looking at the vision with each of your companies, where do you see the company going in the next 3 to 5 years?
I would say for us with Raíces, our goal is to continue to grow as a boutique agency. I don't dream of becoming this massive company that it's working with, 100 plus clients. I'd rather work with less clients, but serve as a fractional chief marketing officer for the clients that I'm serving. So I would say continue to serve the clients that we have. We can double our current client roster. Um, and I would say also maybe opening up a creative studio in South Florida that allows us to bring in different collaborations and host events. And then we are also interested in opening something called Raíces Capital, where we do impact investing through revenue-based lending to small businesses. So, and then we help them like kind of like an accelerator program is our dream, where you come in and we provide you not only with the funds, but also with the marketing resources to go after the funds. So that's the long-term vision that we have of Raíces Media, Raíces Capital, and merging those two entities and making sure that we can continue to empower small, mid-sized businesses in Florida and honestly across the US.
I love that. That's super cool. Now, looking at like thinking about if we had this conversation 5 years from now and you were grinning ear to ear, what would you be telling me?
For me,
You can go
start
first,
sooner.
Julio.
Yeah, for me, start sooner. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always had a business besides my W-2 job, like my entire lifetime. But the lure of that paycheck, the safety of the paycheck is something that, weighs heavy on a lot of people in the 401k. And for years I've said, if I'm going to continue to bust my butt, I'm going to do it for myself, and never took the leap. And I had the opportunity and I took it, and life has been great. There's a lot more than just, that corporate life. You do learn a lot. You do have, a lot of benefits, but at the same time, it can be a total energy drain. So if you're thinking about starting, your own business, take the plunge. If you're married, your spouse can continue the safer job while you take the risk, but do it right. And again, that's one of the reasons that I set up that school community to help individuals be able to take the plunge with a little bit more confidence, at least. But do it. There's so much value to being able to control your own destiny, because at the end of the day, it's all your effort. If you're not making sales, it's on you. If you're not, pulling through, it's on you. So, your level of effort determines your income.
Mm, those
That's
are
really great. Thank you, Julio. I would say I feel like I'm such a thinker and heartfelt human being that I'm always thinking and pondering upon this question. But one of the things that I would say is to protect protect your baby, like protect it at all costs. I feel like when you're growing your company and you're small, you kind of feel like I'm growing, so like I'm gonna work with anybody and everybody, but you need to start walking now, today, like that version of yourself that you're becoming. Because if you don't start moving differently, you're not gonna get different results. And number two, what you water grows. So like I have a big philosophy that the more you water relationships, the more you water your clients, the more it's gonna come to you. So always being open to paying it forward and doing it wholeheartedly, and doing the right thing. Don't
mm,
try to be sneaky, don't try to be quick, don't try, there's no shortcut. This shit, it's like it's not for the weak. So just making sure that you don't take any shortcuts and you stay true to who you are at the core. You got to always go back to your roots.
definitely. You guys are both fabulous. This has been so fun. Now I have a fun question for you. So if I had a little bit of magic dust and I gave each of you some of this magic dust and you sprinkled it on one aspect of your business that you want to improve upon, it could be hiring, it could be, expanding or whatever it looks like, marketing, anything, one aspect of your business for the better. What would you sprinkle your magic dust on?
For me, it is the reach. Being able to reach more of those smaller businesses, because that's really where my passion lies. It's great to have the nice income. It's great to help those larger organizations, but my passion is really helping those small founders, because at this stage in my career, I'm all about building legacy. I've coached and mentored so many individuals throughout my career, and that's been fantastic. But you're helping one individual out of whatever staff you've got, and now my reach is that much broader. So being able to really amplify that success and outreach to those smaller entrepreneurs to leave more legacies, I think would really be what I would want to see with the magic wand.
I would say honestly, just reaching the ideal client. So this year, I am committed to landing 5 ideal clients for the company. And that's really what we're focused on. So, and being able to grow our relationship with those 5 ideal clients by serving as their chief marketing officers.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for sharing all the things you're working on. This has been a fun conversation. Before we get to our final question of the day, how can folks connect with each of your companies online?
So our website, it's raicesmediaco.com. And our email, it's hello@raicesmediaco.com.
And for me, it's easy. It is, if I'm pointing right, it's Julio at Opticution. And oh, that's spelled wrong. OPTI. Forgot to update this one. OPTICUTION. So Julio at Opticution.com.
All right, fantastic. Now, the final question for each of you is, what is most inspiring to you today?
Oh, that's such a beautiful one. Um, Honestly, I would say my family. That's where I gather the majority of my inspiration. My mom is raised us as a single mom, 4 kids. Um, And I would say being able to think about me creating opportunities to more people that look like me, and that come from similar backgrounds. So creating a seat at the table for those individuals that didn't grow up with much, but we make the best out of it.
Yeah, I found out Sunday that I'm going to be a grandfather again.
Oh,
Um,
great.
so it reinforces my drive to leave legacy. Um, so every opportunity to leave legacy and help others leave a legacy is really what inspires
Oh, well, you both inspired me with everything you had to say today. It's been such a joy learning about your businesses and about you as people out there making things happen in business. So thank you for sharing your stories with me today on the pod.
me. Thank you, Kay.